Most players scout in Madden, but they don't build anything. They chase overalls, they chase speed, but a real West Coast zone run offense, it's built on precision, on discipline, and the right players in the right roles. Today, I'm going to show you how to scout and draft like a real GM, and build a roster that actually fits your scheme. I'm NightKnightSims, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to properly scout and draft for a West Coast zone run scheme. This is specifically for those of us that play Madden 26 with no user input, where we act as a GM or coach and watch the games unfold in CPU versus CPU slow simulation, like it's a Sunday night NFL broadcast. We actually start by going to GM's office, then clicking on Team Salaries. Of course, since we're only focused on West Coast zone run scheme, we are only going to worry about those positions in this video. So we're going to end up starting with QB, but you're going to want to jot down the following positions: QB 1 and 2, halfback 1 and 2, fullback 1, wide receiver 1, 2, 3, and 4, tight end 1 and 2, left tackle 1 and 2, left guard 1 and 2, center 1 and 2, right guard 1 and 2, and right tackle 1 and 2. This is your baseline for this scheme. Next, we're going to go position by position and see who is on our roster for the next season already. So as we can see here, Justin Fields is signed through next season, but Tyrod Taylor is not. So I'm going to put Fields with his age and overall for QB1, and then I'll put none for QB2. I do this for every offensive position for the baseline I told you to jot down to start off. Then, for halfback 1, we have Breece Hall becoming a free agent. We know we want to bring him back as our halfback 1, so I actually write him down and put re-sign next to his name. For halfback 2, we have two options, but in this franchise, I want to develop Allen over Edwards, so I write down Braylon Allen as halfback 2, and so on for every position. Once we've done the entire offense, we then evaluate based on priority of drafting. For me, QB1 is the most important, as Fields is not the future of the Jets franchise, and the West Coast zone run scheme all runs off the engine you install at QB. We keep going until we have 5 top priorities, and then fill the rest in with depth, free agent likely signings, etc. Once complete, you'll have something that looks like this. So as you can see, we filled out all of our positions. We have none for some, which is where our depth pieces come from. We have re-sign for the people that we're going to want to re-sign, and then we have everybody else written out. So on here, obviously, we're going to want to replace Fields, and we don't have a QB2. Hall, we're going to want to re-sign. Allen, we're going to want to develop. We don't have a fullback that's going to be on roster next season. At wide receiver, you have Wilson and Corley, but we have nobody for 3 and 4. And Corley isn't necessarily a wide receiver 2, and Wilson's kind of on the borderline 1/2 as far as all of his attributes and stuff go. So we're going to, put down that we'd need wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. For tight end, we have Taylor, who we're developing, but we're still going to need another tight end, so I'll put tight end 2 there. And then on the offensive line, we have Fashanu, Simpson, who we want to re-sign, Tippmann, Vera Tucker, who we want to re-sign, and Membo. So we're going to want to write down left tackle 2, left guard 1 and 2, due to the fact of Simpson's age. And then you want center 2, right guard 2, and right tackle 2. So now all of those, based off of how it's lined up and everything, my top 5 priorities would be QB1, wide receivers 2 and 3, tight end 2, and then left guard 1. The rest would just be in depth / free agency signings. So left guard 2, right guard 2, center, left tackle, and right tackle, and then of course fullback. Now that we have our priorities for the draft, we can take a look at the prospects and regions for the first time to situate our scouts. All right, so now that we're in week 1, this is where we start doing our scouts and whatnot. So you're going to go into hire and assign scouts, and you're going to go to scouts, and you're going to fire everyone that's there, because you're not going to need any of them, most likely, because we're going to be doing a specific type of adjustment on how we want to do scouts. Now this is where most Madden players waste their scouts. They double scout positions without logical reasoning, they put their best scout at national, they scout quarterbacks regionally, which is one of, if not the easiest position in the game to scout. Here's how a real GM does it. Quarterbacks, focus scouting only. You'll never waste a regional scout on them. Your 3-star scout, never national, always regional. Always on the biggest cluster of premium players. Your national scout, put them on the position with the largest pool, but never double scout that position regionally. This is how you'll maximize your XP, maximize your reveals, and walk into the draft with more information than every other team. To figure it out, I go region by region and jot down the number of prospects with a 1st to 4th round projection. I do not include any day 3 or undrafted free agent prospects. And when I'm doing it based off of my needs of the draft. So for like my main 5 needs on this one, I've got obviously quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, interior O-line positions, and then offensive tackle positions. So then, like for instance, for tackles, you've got for national, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then add in right tackles, 14, 16, 18. You have 19 players, so I'd write 19 for the national, and then I'll go to the West. That's 0 there, so I'd have 2, 4. I'd have 6 in the West. For Central, there's 2, 4 for the Central. That's 1, 2, 3 for the Northeast. And then 2, 4, 6 for the Southeast. And then I'll do that for all those 5 positions. Once you're done, you should have a prospect board that looks something like this. Once you have that, then you can make a determination as far as how we're going to lay out the scouts to maximize for the positions we're wanting to draft. Starting with national, in each region after, you want to scout the highest amount of prospects possible. So for national, we're going to put our 2-star scout at wide receiver. For the West, we're going to put a 3-star scout at offensive tackle, and then 1-star scouts in the Central, Northeast, and Southeast, with the Central being interior O-line. And even though it's not the highest, I do that because every other position has one where it's higher, except for interior O-line, where we're only scouting 3 in the Northeast. So I do Central for the 1 because we already have offensive tackle where we have 6. We have our tight end in the Southeast where we have 4. And then our wide receiver is a national scout. And I don't waste scouts for QBs. So might as well get a 4th interior O-line rather than a 5th or 6th tight end or another 4 offensive tackles, because we're already maximizing those positions for a specific region, and we want to make sure we're trying to get the best optimization possible at the same time as getting reveals. So now that we know what we're going to do, again, you'll go in, you're going to go ahead and go back out, go to scouts, hire scouts, and again, we're going to do a wide receiver in the national. That's a 2-star. So wide receiver, 2-star. And you want to try to get a secondary expertise because it does get a little bit of bonus on something that's in need too. So for wide receivers, we've got a tight end and a QB. With QB being so important, we are going to do a QB as a secondary, but never as the primary. And then again, we're going to do offensive tackle as our 3-star. So we're going to go down to offensive tackle, check out the 3-star options that we have for them. Once we get there, so we have a linebacker option, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and sign that scout. And then remember, for the Central and for the Northeast, we were interior O-line 1-stars. So we're going to go down and we're going to check out what options we have. So we're going to have offensive tackle as a secondary, linebacker as a secondary, offensive tackle as a secondary, linebacker as a secondary. So the fact that we're also looking at tackles, it only makes sense to sit here and do the tackle for both of those as well. So that's for the Central. Let's go get the next one for the Northeast, which again is a tackle. And then in the Southeast, we have tight ends. So now we look at our 1-star tight ends. We have edge, wide receiver, linebacker, corner, and QB. So again, we want QBs, so why not have QB be a second option there? So that's perfect there. So now that they're hired, you can go to your scouts and put them where they need to go. Again, offensive tackles going to national. Wide receiver is going to national. Offensive tackle is going to the West. We're putting interior O-line in the Central and the Northeast. And then tight end in the Southeast. And as you can see, it matches the prospect board that we laid out. Wide receivers, national. Offensive tackle, West. and then interior O-line, central, northeast, tight end, and a southeast. So now that that's done, we've got our scout set, and that's all we do now until we get to week 3. All right, now that we're at week 3, the only thing we're going to do here is set our regional focus scouting. So we're going to go into regional focus scouting, choose regional scouting focus, nationals, not till later. So we go to the west, set. We're going to set that at offensive tackle. Central, we're going to set to interior O-line. Northeast, set to interior O-line. And southeast, we're going to set to tight end. And now we're done for that until we're back to week 8. All right, so now we're in week 8, and this is where we're going to set our national focus. So you'll go to Scouting National Focus, choose National Focus position, set, and you're going to put that on wide receiver. Okay, now that that's done, we're done until week 13. All right, now that we are at week 13, we start to build a draft board. Madden gives you multiple scouting tools, but we're only going to use 2 of them. Physicals and letter grade core attributes. Most players ignore one or misunderstand the other. So the physicals actually tell you the ceiling, the raw athletic profile of the prospect. Letter grades and the core attributes tell you the floor, the traits that matter on day 1. In a West Coast zone run offense, the wrong letter grade can kill a prospect. A QB with C range medium accuracy, off the board. A wide receiver with D release, they're off the board. An offensive lineman with marginal agility, they're off the board. This scheme is unforgiving, so your scouting has to be too. So, we're going to use our 3 focus spots of one of 2 things only. A QB, if that is a need, or on a position with the lowest amount of available prospects that you didn't put a scout on. So, for us in this case, we were able to put a scout on every category, but we did not do one on QB. So the only thing we're going to look at is for QB. Now, there's a couple of things we look at when we're looking for QB prospects. One of the main things, what matters in attributes for QBs in a West Coast zone run scheme is medium accuracy, which is the #1 trait in the scheme. And then short accuracy and throw under pressure, followed by awareness and play action. The physicals you want to look for is elite, great, or good in throw power. This only needs to be good enough. You don't need a rocket arm in a West Coast scheme. And then acceleration. You want it in a decent to good range because acceleration itself helps QBs on play action rollouts. The main red flags you're looking for is a medium accuracy range that's below the B to D range, throw under pressure that's below the C to F range, or a throw power that's under the good solid range. So those are the main things we're looking for. In order to separate things out, we kind of take it in chunks though. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and scout college players. We're going to go to prospects, and we're doing QBs. So you're going to go to quarterbacks. The first thing you're going to do, you ignore everything until you get to medium accuracy. In medium accuracy, we only want anyone with a B or higher. So these C's, we're not going to add in. These, we're not going to add in. Ones that we haven't uncovered yet, we will add in because we will eliminate them later or on a different trait when we get to it. So now that we've got all of our QBs for our #1 trait for that, we can go to favorites. And now we've got our favorites. So there's a couple of things. One, this is something that I do. You don't have to do this, but this is what I do. I don't like drafting 23-year-olds because for me, it takes away from the progression and stuff like that. So it just doesn't make sense for me to draft people that are 23 or older. So I'm going to remove anyone that is 23 or older. So now I've got this as my favorite sport. So the next attribute category we want to look at is short accuracy. So we're going to go over to short accuracy. Anybody with below a B, he's in a BD range, so that's fine. The C, he's off the board. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to want to look at is going to be the throw under pressure. So then we go to throw under pressure. Hold on, we got to remove that because you have to change out, otherwise whoever you remove is still there. So now we're going to go over to throw under pressure. And again, anybody below a B is off the board. So off the board, off the board, off the board. So now that brings us down to 6. Now, before we further those attributes, we're going to actually go over to physicals now. So the physical we're looking for is throw power. So we're going to go ahead and scroll over to throw power. And again, anybody that doesn't have at least a good to solid option is going to be off the board. So Braylon triplet at solid to decent, off the board. So that brings us down to 5. So now we're going to check acceleration. Again, we want at least decent. So these two marginal to poors, they're off the board. So now that's going to bring us down to 3. So we have our 3 QBs that we could technically use our focus on, but we're going to go even further. So we're going to go back to attributes. And then we're going to check awareness. We don't want anything below a C. Nothing there. And then is play action. So we're going to go to play action to make sure nothing is there below a C. So once we get a play action right there, you have an A and a B to a D. So it's not. So on all the attributes and physicals that we need in a QB, these 3 meet every one of those categories. So these are the 3 ideal quarterbacks for our scheme based off of what has been uncovered so far. So now we want to look further. They don't have any of the red flags, which is medium accuracy below the B to D range, the under pressure range below the C to F, or the throw power range under good to solid. Because if they had any of them, they're automatically, as you saw, off the board. They're not to be scouted any further. So now what we can do, since we don't have any other position we need to look for, we can go ahead and make these 3 our focus scouts. Now, had we had another position, like let's say we needed the tight ends, but there wasn't anything with high tight ends, like they were all 0s or 1s, something we wouldn't race the scout on, then we would look at tight ends too and then compare them. And then how you would set this up is we want to pick the 3 prospects with the most questionable items in the most important categories. The point of your focus scouts isn't to unlock the steals of the draft, it's to get rid of the busts. So if we had more, I would look for things like, first thing I would look at is like the top 5. Would we even throw a top 5 into our focus scouting? Well, that depends on where we're going to pick. So you're going to want to go over to your standings and see where you stand at. Do you stand a chance to get into the top 5? Well, right now we're in week 13 and we are currently standing at 5 and 6, and we're almost in the top half of the pick. So the likeliness of us getting a bottom 5 pick when the bottom 5 teams are all 3 and 8 or worse are pretty slim and unlikely, especially with you got all these 4 and 7 teams, this 5 and 7 team, and then a bunch of other 5 and 6 teams along with us. So the likeliness of us getting a top 5 spot wouldn't be very high. So if we had other options, I would not do that for our focus player just because of that. I would focus more on like the undrafted free agents or the lower round ones that are potential steals that we're going to most likely have available when we go to draft. But in our sake, this one made it pretty easy. We've only got 3, so we're going to check them as our focus scouts. Got it? Yes, we want to confirm. They're our focus scouts. Now, we're done with this until the next section of focus scouts. All right, so now we're in the free agency recap week, which is where you get to do your private workouts before you go to the NFL draft. So this is where we finalize our draft board. So we're going to go ahead and go to start college players first, go to prospects. We already have our QBs in there. So let's look to see what we've uncovered. So we've uncovered that the top 5, Trevor Peralta is a round 1 to 2 talent. Troy Smith is a round 1 to 2 talent. Scott Ferguson is a round 3 to 4 talent. For everyone else, let's go ahead and see what we've unlocked so far as talents go. Not that we're going to go over it right now, but you can see we got quite a bit unlocked. And we see that none of the top 5s were actually top 5s. So what we're going to do now is go position by position, including the ones we don't necessarily need, just because we still want to be able to get a steal if there is one available. They're just not a priority. Even though we have our 3, we want to still judge them based off of those attributes. So again, it's going to be medium accuracy is key. So medium accuracy, you don't want really anything under a B. We'll take C if need be, but we really don't want it. The main thing is this, but with the fact that we're down to 3, I like to have 3 at each position in there for an option if possible. So we're going to roll with C's for now, but ideally, these 2 would be ideal as of now. Next would be short accuracy. They're all where it needs to be. Next is throw under pressure. So throw under pressure, they're all A's. Awareness, they're all B's. Play action, they're all A's and B's. Throw power is the next main thing we want to look at. So we're going to slide over to throw power. Elite, elite, and good. So right where we need it. The last thing we really look at is acceleration. Good, good, and good. These all seem to be accurate, calm, rhythmic passers with clean mechanics. So they're all going to stay on our board for now. So now we're going to go ahead and move to halfback. For halfbacks, there's a couple of main things you want to look for. We're going to start off with physicals on them. So first thing is acceleration. You don't really want any acceleration that's under great. So we're going to go ahead and put everybody that has great or higher on there. So now that we've got them, we can now move to agility. Anybody that doesn't have, or not agility, sorry, speed. Anybody that doesn't have great speed, or at least good speed, we're removing. So he's removed, decent, removed, decent, removed, removed, removed. So that's going to get us our beginning list here. So we've got some halfbacks. Again, I don't do 23-year-olds. He's gone. So we've got 4 halfbacks that we're going to look into as far as those categories go. We can look at change of direction as well. Solid, he's gone. So now we're down to 3. Now we're going to go to the attributes and see if we keep any of these halfbacks on our board. So the first thing we're going to look at is ball carrier vision. So ball carrier vision, D, D, and C to an F. So that right there tells me none of these are really worth drafting. We're looking for a smooth, decisive runner who fits zone lanes and doesn't fumble. That's the main thing we're looking for. And a ball carrier vision of a D does not qualify. Carter has a C to an F, so he's saved right now somewhat by that, although I would normally eliminate a C to an F for ball carrier vision. But we're going to go ahead and look to see what the rest of his stats are. Carrying, he's at a C. Okay, that's keepable. Then we're going to look at juke and spin move. Those are the main next two I want to look at. Spin move, C, juke move, D. Not what I want. You're eliminated. So, as you can see, as far as halfbacks go, there's no one I should race to pick on as far as halfbacks are concerned. So, we're going to check fullbacks. Most people say to never draft a fullback, and most people would be right. Normally, you would never draft a fullback. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't still scout them to get an idea if maybe you should take one with around 6th or around 7th pick if there's no one else available on your board. So, what I would say is to start looking at lead block. We're going to go over to lead block and see what we have here. So we're going to sort this. You're only going to want anybody with a C or higher. So they all have opportunity because they're all C and F range or higher. So next thing we're going to go is to impact block. So for impact block, we're going to be eliminating Schaefer and Merle. So that eliminates us down to, how many is that now? To 5 fullbacks. So the next thing you want to look at is run blocking. So let's go ahead and go to run block and see. You've got these, but anybody down here is removed. So that's removed, removed, removed. So that's 3 eliminated right there. So that brings us down to 2 possible. His age eliminates him. So we're down to 1. A 21-year-old Kari Dulong. So after we check that, now we want to check short route running and then catching. So let's go over to catching, C to an F. Okay, he stays on the board. Short route running, C to an F, stays on the board. Now we go to physicals. The physicals I look at is strength and acceleration. Acceleration, decent, stays on the board. That's the bottom end. The only other thing we want to look for is strength. Good, stays on the board. For our scheme, he's not that bad of a fullback. He fits pretty much every category. He might not be the best, but he's not a bust. He's one that can develop into an okay fullback. Now we go into wide receiver. So this attribute key attribute for us is short route running. So let's go ahead and go to attributes, short route running. And anybody that's a C or higher, we're going to put on the board to start. And everyone should be uncovered already, which they are. So now to lower it before we go on, same thing. I'm going to go through anybody. For me, like I said, this isn't something you have to do, but I don't want to draft people that are 23. Okay, so now that's what mine is. So now I go to medium route running. Again, it's only C's or higher. So I'm down to my last C. I'll roll over. Anybody below this that's got a favorite, they're coming off the board. So off the board, and all these guys are now off the board. Now this is what I'm down to for wide receivers. Next is release. So I'm going to go over to release. Same thing. Anybody below a C is removed. So we'll go back over. We're removing some more. Quite a few players getting removed from that. But this is where the separation and all that comes into play. So now that we got that, we're down to 2 receivers after just those first 3 categories. And we haven't even hit the speed, acceleration, change of direction, any of that yet. But they're both round 1 prospects. So that's great to see. Let's see how they fit with the rest. So the next is catching and catching traffic. Catching, C to B, catching traffic, B or A. So they're both fit all of those categories. Next thing we're going to look for is going to be into physicals. So there's 3 different things, or 4, that we look for in here. It's going to be acceleration. We prefer good, but solid I will keep. Agility. They're both good on that. Change of direction. Solid we can keep, but we do prefer the great. And then the final thing is speed. Good. Solid. I'm not a fan of solid when it comes to wide receivers. I do want a minimum of good. So, favors, it's got to be removed. So, now for wide receivers, the only receiver that I'm really scouting or looking at is DeAndre Stevenson. Now we move to tight ends. So, even though we drafted Isaiah Likely, although we signed Isaiah Likely, we're still looking for our future tight end when we're developing stuff like that. So now we're going to go ahead, and first thing I'm going to look for on attributes is short route running. So short route running, there we go. And again, it's anything that's a C or higher, or has a range that could possibly be a C. We let them get eliminated based off of what they have. Again, ages I remove, which limits my prospects. If you don't do that, you'll have more prospects to look at. I do. And then the height. So 6'5", 6'4", 6'6", 6'4", 6'6", 6'3", he's removed. 6'5", he's good. So now I've got the tight ends that I'm wanting to look at that meet the first requirement. Next, we look at catching and catching traffic. Catch, everybody still meets the requirement. Catching traffic, this guy does not. He is a D, so that knocks him off the board. So now we're down to these players. So the next thing after that is run block. So let's look at run block. They're all a C or higher, so they're fine. Impact block. Oh, Drescher is off the board. And then strength would be the next thing we're looking at. Strength and acceleration. So now we go to physicals. Acceleration, marginal poor, not acceptable. Gone, gone. So now we're down to these 2. Now we just need to see strength. Good and elite, they're both good. So we have 2 tight end options that we're going to look at. One's Antonio Fuller, who's 6'6", 274, and Clifton Kubiak, who's 6'4", 260. Both have pretty decent speed as well, too, elite and good. So we're starting to build out our board now. Now we're going to move to the offensive line. All these are the same. So left tackle, we're going to go ahead and go to attributes. So the first thing we're looking for is run block and pass block finesse. So we're going to go ahead and run block finesse. Anybody that's a C or higher, we will bring on board. We've got that. Now we go to pass block finesse. If they don't have an opportunity for a C, they get removed. Okay, so that removed a couple right there. So now here's our options for tackles. And as you can see, we got a couple, like their talent rating is saying a potential undrafted free agent, but he's met some of our criteria so far, so we have to continue to see. The next thing would be impact block and then awareness. So we'll check awareness first. So anybody below a C? No. So now we can go ahead and go to impact block. Go down one more, go over impact block. And again, anybody below a C? No. So then we want to go look at strength. We don't want anyone below a good on strength. This is where you start knocking them out. Strength, and then of course, acceleration. I'm sorry, strength and then acceleration and agility. So for acceleration, you don't want anybody that is below really a great. So good, gone. Solid, gone. Solid, gone. Decent, gone. Solid, gone. So that drops us down to 5. Agility. Same thing for agility. You don't want anyone that is below a great. So good, gone. And this guy is already gone. So that now drops us down to 4 potential tackles. The last thing we look at is strength. Needs to be good or higher. Decent, gone. Solid, gone. Solid, gone. We have 1 left tackle that we want to look at. And that's Broderick Bryant. 6'6", 319, projected 3 to 4th round. Now we're going to go to left guard, go through all of those same things to find a left guard, see if they're going to stay on our board. Again, stay with run block finesse, C's or higher. Pass block finesse. That's good. Then it's impact block. I gotta go to my lowest one here. They're not on the board, so right there. So impact block, they're all good. And then it is awareness. D, gone. That's all good. And then the last thing is going to be lead block, but let me reorganize them since we did remove some. Go here, and then go over to our lead block. D, gone. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and go to our physicals. So starting with acceleration, again, you don't want anything under great. Good, gone. Good, gone, good, gone. Decent, gone. That gives us 3. Then we go to agility. Again, nothing under great. Good, gone. So then we've down to the 2. Sort them. And then strength is the last one. We have good, so he'll stay. Elite stays. So we have 2 left guards we can potentially look at. One's around 1, one's a day 3. So that's a huge help for us, having a day 3 option already on the board that we could potentially draft that meets all the criteria of a good West Coast zone run offensive lineman. Now, let's go to center, do the same thing. Go to attributes and run block finesse. Same thing, anybody with a C or higher. Pass block finesse, F, gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and sort that out. That's our lowest. Now impact block. They're all good. So the next thing would be awareness. They are all good. The next thing is lead block. They are all good. So now we go to physicals to be the separator once again. Now, just because we're removing them doesn't mean they wouldn't be good offensive linemen. They just are not ideal for our scheme right now. Like, they might work. They might be pretty good. They could still be good offensive linemen, but there's a chance they're more of a chance to be a bust or not fit our scheme as the ones we are looking at. So again, for acceleration, nothing under great. Gone, 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 and gone. So now we're down to these two. Acceleration, they're both stay on there. Last thing, strength. They're both gone. Especially at the center position, they have to have strength. So we have no centers that we're going to look at. Now we go to right guards, look at attributes, and start with run block finesse. Again, down to C's only. And now pass block finesse. D is gone, D to F is gone, D is gone. We'll go down. He's 24. He's gone. I didn't check the ages of the other guys. I have to check that too. We may be eliminating more just because of their age. But like I said, that's just how I do things. So now impact block. They're good. Awareness. Oh. Banks is gone. And lead block, they are all good. So now we're going to go to physicals. Again. Gone, gone, gone. That gets us down to 3. Now we're going to look at agility. Solid is gone. Now we look at strength. Both elite. They stay. Right tackle now. Attributes. Run block finesse. Add in all those C's. Pass block finesse. F is gone. And they're good on that. So now, let's go ahead and sort that again. Impact block and awareness. So we'll check awareness since we're right here. They all are still good. So impact block and lead block. Impact block and lead block. There's a D there. That's gone. D there. He's gone. And there is that. So now I'm just going to check ages. 23, gone, gone, gone. All right, so now we go to physicals. Acceleration, gone, 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 gone. Only 2 left. Going to agility. They're both good. They're not great. They're gone. So we have no right tackles there. So now, based off of our scheme and what we're looking for as far as offense goes, these are who we have. I'm going to go ahead and sort, make sure I didn't miss anybody's ages. I did not. So, as you can see, we have a total of 12 players on our drafting board. As you can see, that's a lot easier than a lot of people who have 60 plus when they're trying to do these. And they're all positions that we're in need of for the most part. And we've already got the talent levels that they say secured as far as where they're likely at and their round projections. So that's going to help us some. So now what we're going to do is we have wide receiver, right? So the main thing we want to do is see, okay, we have question marks still. Who do we really want? So we've kind of got a good idea that we're going to try to aim for Stevenson with our first round draft pick. If we don't get one of these quarterbacks. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. So first thing I want to do before I do focus scouts is kind of look, where are we drafting? So let's look at the mock drafts. So mock drafts, we are picking at, whoa, way down here. We're picking at 25th. So with us picking so far down, now we do want to look at the suspected players on how they're going to be drafted. So the main ones we were looking at, let's go back to our prospects. Whoop, go to favorites, sorry. That have a talent role for us. Ferguson, we're not worried about disappearing because of it being a 3-4 talent. We're not going to waste the first round pick on him, although he does fit our schemes for the most part. But we do want to look at these guys. So Peralta, Smith, and then Stevenson. So let's see where they're all going to go. So mock drafts. Peralta, Smith. Now it's just Stevenson. Let's see where Stevenson gets drafted. Looks like he doesn't get drafted at all. I don't see a wide receiver on here. Am I reading that right? So is there a chance we can get a starting wide receiver with our first round pick? It looks like it. I'm just going back through just to make sure. And obviously, if we had defense, I mean, it'd be a little bit different, but with us just looking for offense in this video, that makes things a little bit easier. So, no. So, we're looking for a wide receiver with our first round draft pick. So, now what I want to look at is, do we have somebody that we know we want to take with the second round? So, we've got nobody uncovered in the second round, but we do want to see about getting a QB. Now, we've signed a couple QBs. I'm not going to reach. I'm not going to trade up for them. You know, if they fall to us, they fall. He's the top 5. And he's around 1 to 2, and they're both going in the top. So, I mean, if they don't drop to me, I'm not wasting a trade up or a pick to move up to try to get them where they're at. So, we'll just have to roll with Fields for one more year if that's the case, and scout QBs next season. Don't waste your picks trying to move up just because you need to. Use the talent too. They fit our scheme, but they're not worth moving up for when you have somebody who's ranked better than them available to you in the first round. So, we have good tight end, and these are all guards and stuff. So really, I want to check out to see if either of these tight ends are, and then I'm probably going to check out some of these guards. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and go to our private workouts. So since we have our first round pick already situated, the main thing we're looking for is further round picks. Now, I want to also get steals and stuff. So players that we know are going to be available in the second round is obviously our round 3 to 4s. So there's a tackle and a guard we can bring in. And then these day 3s and then undrafted free agent fullback. So with these, I'm going to go ahead and do the day 3. That way it opens it up and sees if there's somebody we can go ahead and draft in a higher round, or if we should eliminate them, you know, down to a 6th or a 7th rather than an earlier pick. But we will ideally draft anybody that's on these 12 players. And if we run out of picks, which you wouldn't normally do in a real game, I'm going to trade them in this one just because we're only doing offense. But normally, obviously, I'd have a bigger board, more options, stuff like that. And you would just draft what's best for your team at the time based off of your need. So that's what we're going to run with for this season. We're going to go ahead and do that. Click yes. And now we're going to go ahead and advance week to the draft. And now let's go ahead and scout again and see what we've got for our prospects. Go to our favorites. And just like that, QB, you know, there we go. A day 3 left guard who's around 2 to 3. Around 3 to 4 who's a 2 to 3. And a 3 to 4 that's considered undrafted. So he's likely still going to be around with our last pick. See what I'm saying? So I'll probably go with one of these tight ends based off of their stats since we don't need a starting player at the time, and then start working these as we go down because there's a good chance I can get him with our 3rd round pick and with our 4th round pick. So let's go ahead and start the draft and let's see how it works out with how I teach you to do things. So let's go ahead and start NFL draft. So we're on the board now. We're going to make our first selection. So let's go ahead and pick our player, and we're only looking at our favorites board. So some of our favorites are gone, including all the QBs. So all 3 QBs are gone, along with a couple others that we were expecting to have. But we still have our round 1 wide receiver on here, so we're going to go ahead and take him first. So let's go ahead and draft DeAndre Stevenson with our first pick. An A+. He was ranked number 14th in true value, and we drafted him at 25. Player profile, he is a hidden dev. 92 speed, 90 jumping, 92 change of direction, 89 agility, 91 acceleration, 63 strength. Skills, awareness A to B, ball carrier vision A to B, break tackle B to C, carrying B to C, catching traffic B, catching C, deep route B, you know, kick return A, medium route A, short route C. He's going to be a great one to start off. It doesn't show his overall yet, but we will get to that. But as you can see, we've already got an A+ for our first pick. Quiet, soft hands that catch everything. Shows great concentration catching in traffic. Understands leverage and creates separation on medium routes. Keyword, separation. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and go to our next pick. We're pick round 2 and pick 25. Let's go ahead and make our selection. Let's see who we still have available on ours. So we still have 6 players available. So Kubiak is a round 1 to 2 option. The rest of these are round 2. So we only want to, I'm not too worried about losing both of these guards. We're going to get one of them most likely. But the fact that I have a tight end here that's still there and we didn't lock into him too much and he has the stuff that we're looking for, I'm going to go ahead and grab him with our round 2. He needs to work on simple concentration drops, accepts body control on the sidelines, fights for every single inch as a runner, no issues climbing the ladder to make catches, avoids big hits following catches, excels at creating yards after the catch, but lacks discipline resulting in avoidable penalties. He is 22, 6'4", his physicals, some pretty good physicals, especially the strength is elite, acceleration's good, and then his skills, right where we need it, catching A, the catch in traffic, A to a C. So medium route, B, short route, A to a C. So we don't quite know if this is going to be a great pick or not, but he fits all the criteria we need, so that part really doesn't matter. We just might be drafting him early because we don't have him fully unlocked yet. But with the fact that the other plays we're looking at were so far down as far as projection goes, there's a good chance one of them, if not both, are still available. So let's go ahead and draft tight end Clifton Kubiak with our second pick. This one, he's ranked 49th. We drafted him 57th. So again, we never reached. He's a B-, reliable pass catcher, shows great concentration catching in traffic. Intermediate route running is inconsistent, but we need him more for the short route running. Player profile, normal dev, but 87 acceleration, 83 agility, 79 change of direction, 83 jumping, 81 speed, 77 strength. That works. That's something we can work with and develop. So that's definitely works for me. So now let's go ahead and skip ahead in the draft to our next pick. And we didn't have a pick I didn't realize until the 4th round. So let's see who we have available. That would have changed it a little bit, but it is what it is. Yeah, all the guards are gone now. So 4th round, we're going to go ahead and pick Gilmore. The fact that he's a day 3, there's a chance he could be gone by our next pick. I don't even know what all of our picks are. Normally I would trade picks in between, stuff like that, if I needed to. But we're going to go ahead and just draft him. 38 in true value, we draft him at 121. Quickness shines on zone run concepts, sometimes fooled by pressure schemes, looks strong on tape. And he's a hidden dev. 92 strength, 81 acceleration, 72 agility. Even still, losing out on the other 2, that worked out in our favor. So let's skip ahead to the 6th round, which is where our next pick is. We've got quite a bit of picks, but obviously I don't have defense, so we're not going to use all of them. But let's go ahead and make our selection here. See if our fullback is still available. He is. Let's go ahead and draft him. He's ranked 236th. I would have normally drafted him in the 7th, but he was the only one we had available since I don't have a full drafting going here. But it works. 79 strength, 78 speed, 82 agility. It can work. So we'll make that work for it. And let's go ahead and skip ahead to the end of the draft. All right, so draft repick. Our first round pick is a 77 overall. Our tight end is a 74. Our right guard is a 74, and our fullback is a 65. So that just goes to show you, we were getting 74 overalls in the 4th round. They all fill in pretty well. They're all starter caliber for the most part, and a fullback at 21 at 65 is not bad. He's going to develop, and he's got the stuff that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and look at the NFL as a whole, though. And we're going to look at just the first round at overalls. So that's defense. Who we didn't meet the criteria we wanted, is an 81. Burke, who's a tight end, was an 81. Long, 80. Pace, McDowell. We have Stevenson. He's in the tops. He's in the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's in the top 9 players as far as overall ratings go, and we drafted him with the 25th pick. I mean, after us, one player in the top was drafted after us. And that's a left tackle. And we weren't interested in a power archetype tackle, and he didn't fit our scheme as far as what attributes we were looking for. So there was no one drafted after us that we missed on that was above us as far as overalls go. So even if you scroll down, I mean, you see, we did so much better than a majority of these teams. Let's go to round 2. Overall in round 2, let's see where our player for round 2 falls. Our tight end, who we took a swing at, is ranked 74. So if you put him, he is technically where Bradshaw is. So he's technically tied to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To be the 9th best player drafted in the second round. And again, we drafted him at the 25th spot. So after us was a wide receiver Ellsworth, which was not on ours. And then that's it. Everybody else was drafted before we got a chance to get to them. So again, we drafted better than some of the teams in front of us. We did not draft in a 3rd. We did draft in a 4th. And we drafted the best overall available at 25 in Jason Gilmore. All these drafted before us and have players worse than ours. So round 6, which is our next pick, we drafted a fullback. So we have some players that's better than us on that. But I mean, to get a fullback that's a 65 overall, I mean, it is what it is. We still drafted better than some people that drafted after us or before us. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Let's look at all rounds and look at fullbacks. Let's see if he was the best fullback available when we drafted him. So let's keep scrolling down to fullbacks. Let's see overall. He's the only fullback that was drafted. So we drafted the only fullback as a 65 overall. So as you can see, the schemes work for you. It fit out perfectly for us. We can go to the depth chart now as we got our new players. And wide receiver, Stevenson is there with a 77. We have Rondell Moore at 81. And that's going to put him at the number 3 spot. So not too shabby for this next season. All right, and now before we end, I'm going to go ahead and go through all the different positions in the scheme and what you're looking for, just so you guys have that. That way you can pause it to jot down or whatnot. So, of course, we're going to start off with quarterbacks. And for quarterbacks, what matters most in order is going to be medium accuracy. That's the number 1 trait in this scheme. Matters more than anything. Followed by short accuracy, throw under pressure, awareness, play action, and then throw power, which would be under the physicals. Remember, throw power only needs to be good enough. But for the physicals, you want to look for good to great or elite throw power. And then acceleration, the lowest you want to see is decent up to the good, great, into the elite rating. And that helps on play action rollouts. Main red flags to watch out for: medium accuracy, or if you get a range of B to D or lower, or throwing under pressure range of CF or lower, or throwing power range below good solid, they're automatically off the board. Don't even worry about scouting them anymore. What you're looking for in a draft-worthy quarterback is an accurate, calm, rhythmic passer with clean mechanics. So pretty much, if medium accuracy is A to C, he's staying on your board. Next, we're going to move to halfback. For halfback, your key attributes is going to be acceleration, agility, change of direction, and physicals, along with speed. And then you're going to move to ball carrier vision, juke move, spin move, and then carrying. Your red flags is ball carrier vision in a range of C to F or lower, carrying in the range of D to F or lower, and then physicals showing marginal or poor. So you make sure all your physicals are good, but especially acceleration. If it's showing marginal or poor, it's automatically gone. And remember, a draft-worthy halfback should be a smooth, decisive runner who's able to fit his zone lanes and doesn't fumble the ball. Next, we're going to go to fullback. At fullback, your key attributes is going to be lead block, impact block, run block, short route running, and catching. The physicals you're going on to look for is strength and acceleration, whereas strength you want a good, great, or elite, and an acceleration you want a minimum of decent. If you see a D or an F rating range in lead block, or a C to F range or lower in impact block, those are automatic red flags. Get them off your board. A draft-worthy fullback should be a hybrid halfback, so to speak, who can block and leak out into routes. So you don't need to just look into fullbacks, you can look into halfbacks for the fullback position as well. Now, we'll move on to wide receivers. Wide receivers' key attributes, it's going to be short route running, medium route running, release, catching, catch in traffic, and then the physicals is going to be acceleration, agility, speed, and change of direction. The main red flags is going to be short route running in a range of C to F or lower, release in a D to F range or lower, or catch in traffic in the range of D and F or lower. Those should be automatically off your board. And what you end up getting in a draft-worthy wide receiver is a separator with yak ability. He won't be a pure burner, but more so a tactician. Next is the tight end. With tight end, your key attributes are going to be short route running, catching, catch in traffic, run block, impact block, and then strength. Physicals to look for is going to be strength, either good, great, or elite, and then acceleration, anywhere from decent to elite. Red flags is short route running of D or an F, run blocking in the D to F range. A draft-worthy tight end will give you someone with reliable hands who's a chain mover and can block well enough to stay on the field for all downs. Now, we'll move to the O-line. For the O-line, your key attributes are going to be run block finesse and pass block finesse, followed by impact block, awareness, and lead block. The physicals you want to look for is either great or elite agility, great or elite acceleration, good, great, or elite strength. These physicals are all very important and are massive for zone blocking. The red flags is any agility rating of marginal or poor, run block finesse of C and F or lower, awareness of a D and F or lower, or strength of marginal or poor. Honestly, even strength in the solid range should be a red flag, but it can be there if you need to fill in a gap somewhere. At the end of the day, a draft-worthy offensive lineman would be one that you draft that is going to have quick feet, is smart, high awareness, and can reach blocks and climb to that second level easily. Now, to help you out a little bit further, I do have some other stuff I'm going to go over real quick, and this is just to help you in your scouting. So to help decide who's worth scouting further, a prospect deserves more scouting if they show strong physicals, such as an offensive lineman with great or elite agility, a wide receiver with great acceleration, a halfback with great change of direction, or a QB with good, great, or elite throw power. Another way of knowing if they should be scouted more is if they have an elite letter grade trait, such as wide receivers with an A to a C short route running trait, or a halfback with an A to C ball carrier vision trait, or an offensive lineman with an A to C run block finesse trait, or a QB with an A to C medium accuracy trait. Focus on those number one traits that I have on there, and if you see A to C's in those are especially ones you want to pay attention to. Also, make sure there's no fatal flaws. None of the red flags that I put either. One weakness is fine, especially if you're looking in the lower rounds. 2 is going to be highly risky, more likely to be a bust. 3, remove them from the board. They're not even worth it. As far as how to make it easier to decide who to put on your board, a player belongs on your board if they have all of this. They need to have one elite trait and have good physicals and have no red flag letter grades and match your archetype, meaning they fit all of the attributes you're looking for. That is the only way you can avoid busts. Now, as far as who to draft a player when they hit, depending on what you need, these tiers. Tier 1 is a must-draft prospect, has elite physicals, is A or B in all key attributes, has no red flags, and is the perfect archetype fit. A Tier 2 prospect is your value picks that have good physicals, have a weakness, still fit your scheme, but are such as undrafted free agents and day 3s that are rated higher. Tier 3 is your developmental prospects that have great physicals and raw technique and have a high ceiling but aren't quite there at the beginning that you would want to draft in the first couple of rounds. So that's mainly what you're looking for in those later rounds. And that's it. That's all I've got for you in this episode. That is the entire scope on how to properly scout sign, and draft West Coast Zone Run archetypes for your CPU versus CPU franchise. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll answer them whenever I can get a second to get around to it. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video to push it out to other people that enjoy this type of franchise mode so that they can get the help as well. And if you're looking forward to the future archetype moves, including the next one, which is going to be the Disguise 3-4 archetype for defense, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help me know that this is what you guys are interested in and this is what you want to see. The more subscribers I get, the more I'm able to do guides and stuff like this, and the more I keep these franchises moving. And don't forget to check out those franchises. I have the new Neon Tigers franchise that's coming, that's just came out. It's the expansion team that took the place of the Arizona Cardinals. I also have an Arizona Cardinals worst to first franchise rebuild that's got no trades, and I can only sign players under 24. That's a youth movement. And then, of course, I have my Minnesota Vikings rebuild that's going on as well. So make sure you check those out as well. And again, thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next video. And as always, Skull.